On today's show, I am playing catch up, if you will, because man, I've been sitting on this guy for close to 2 months now as of the recording of this video. We're going to be looking at Super 7's ReAction Aurora inspired Godzilla. I got this guy at Comic-Con because he was a Comic-Con exclusive. Not anymore, but we'll get into that in a minute. But because other things have come in, I kind of put him on the back burner, but no more! Today, we're getting into him. So for those of you under 25 who might be asking, Chris, what the heck are we looking at? Well, this is Super 7's offering from Comic-Con this past summer. This is the Aurora model inspired Godzilla. You might be asking, what the heck is Aurora model? Well, back in the day, even before my time, to entertain yourself, you had to build models. And there was a company called Aurora that made a whole line of monster model kits. They were plastic. You kind of had to glue them, snap them together, and paint them. You had to paint them yourself. So they had a ton of cool monsters like Frankenstein, Dracula, the Gill Man, and they also did Godzilla. Now, and amongst American collectors, this was some of the few things they could get at the time. Now, when I came around, there were a few more options, but there weren't a lot. So, and this is the thing I do love about Super 7. They go for the deep cuts. And I have a affinity for a lot of the American-made things because, again, they were few and far between. And the cool thing about Super 7, with going with the deep cuts, is that they're all older dudes and they want the stuff that they liked as a kid. So the original Aurora model stood about 7-8 inches. This is a ReAction figure. It's not going to stand that tall, but it's, from what I saw and what you're about to see, it's hewing close to what the original model gave us. Now, unlike many other ReAction figures, since this was a Comic-Con exclusive, it doesn't come on a card with a plastic bubble. This comes in a delightful box. Not unlike the Rodan and Shogun Godzilla that they have done for previous Comic-Cons. And you know what? I love me some packaging, and Super 7 does packaging very well. So, as you can see, this is a thick boy. So, the Shogun one is half the size of this in both width and length. As you can see, I already kind of popped them open a little bit just to make sure, because quick backstory to this, I bought it at Comic-Con. They did not have the shipments in, so they had to mail it to me. So once I finally got in the mail, I quickly opened it up and then promptly put it aside for review, which then got put on the back burner that you are now watching. So there you go. That is the packaging, top and bottom. And again, bless you, Super 7, getting the original artwork from the Aurora model. This Godzilla has pretty much been the Godzilla for a lot of us. If it wasn't this one, it was the Marvel one for us here on the stateside, well before the age of the internet. And I love old style pulp art. It's some of my favorite stuff. I grew up on it. My dad was a big proponent of it, so I have a soft spot for these kinds of things. So considering this is a ReAction figure based on a model, and a lot of you probably are like, you know what, get to the firework factory, Chris. Okay, so let's open this up and see what we got going on the inside. So again, here we go. So there we go. There he is, packaging. So again, quality assurance in the packaging, box, and a sweet plastic clamshell to keep him safe. Alrighty, so what stands out from this, from other ReAction figures already, is his size. He's actually very bulky. And yeah, he's bigger than some of the other standard Toho ReAction figures that I have come across in my time thus far. And he is a near perfect replica of that model. Like, they got the model details down to a T, including the base. As you can see, yeah, he's on there. I don't believe he comes off. Well, maybe he does. Oh, it comes off. Okay, so I was wrong. So, me learning a few things. So here's the base. The model did come with a base, so you get a ruined kind of stand-in for an American city. So it is a piece of plastic that is molded with damage. And for those of you out there that want some cityscapes, this is a nice little addition. There's the pegs that his feet go in to hold him in. There's the bottom. So put him to the side. Here's the actual ReAction figure in its glory, looking just like that model did back in the 60s. Now, if some of you are asking, well, you know, what's the big deal about a model? Well, again, these were the only way for a lot of people to get something Godzilla related that was tangible. And here's the other thing, and I give Super 7 credit for this. This is how he looked when you built them initially. They were just solid plastic, and you had to paint them. You had to add your own detailing. You had to add all the little touches, because that's part of the fun of model building. So I love that Super 7 kind of kept that just assembled plastic model look. A lot of you might be looking at it like it's just all green. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. This is more of a nostalgia bait than anything else, but it also does leave it open for you customizers out there to actually paint, much like a model. Now, unlike the model, this one has articulation. So much like every ReAction figure, it is very limited. ReAction figures have pretty much 5 points of articulation. See the hand? Nope. So the hands do not move. Now the legs move, as you can see. Can get in there. Tail moves. Let's get that tail. So there we go, lined up. So there you go. And then the head moves on a swivel. Very cool. Now, some of you might be going, well, this is boring. But that's kind of the thing. This is, this isn't aimed at children. It's aimed at adult collectors who are nostalgic for the things. The original Aurora model is actually very expensive, much like the aforementioned Mattel Shogun Godzilla. If you have an original one, man, that thing has gone up in value a lot over the last decade. Same with the original Aurora. Those are not cheap to come by. Pretty much the whole line is very expensive. Now, they have been reissued by several other companies because Aurora no longer exists. But if you don't want to build, you're like, I don't have the time, I don't want to paint, this is a perfect substitute for that. Plus, the smaller size allows for better display. It allows you to put them in your office, on your desk, wherever you want, and you have the option of putting him on the cityscape or just having him stand by itself. But since I'm a completionist, let's get him back on that city, and bam. So there you go. So he stands at about 4.5 inches with actually very, like I said, great detail in recapturing the original model. I dig this because I love deep cut stuff. This is what I appreciate the most about Super 7, is that they're keeping the dream alive. Even if it's in a smaller plastic glory, it's still better than not having the thing and just longing from afar. What can I say? I'm an old guy. For some of you younger fans, this might not be your cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. That's the beauty about Godzilla. There's a Godzilla for everyone. Some people like Nersofubis that are a little more stylized. I'm a kind of more of a hyper stylized fan. I got some models that are very spiky, if you will. But stuff like this, I absolutely adore. So the box, the figure itself, for $24.99, which I believe is what I paid for him, I'm not complaining, because having an Aurora anything in my collection means a lot to me as a collector. It, brings me back to those, my childhood days talking with my dad, because my dad was an Aurora model kid, and he introduced them to me, and, to this, it still has a bright spot in my heart, if you will. So kudos to Super 7. Hopefully this thing does get reissued, because it was a Comic-Con exclusive. They did sell through their stock, I believe, online. There might be a few left that was left from Comic-Con, so I would check super7.com if you're kind of interested in this guy, but you know, I'm assuming, much like all of their other reactions, this might get a reissue. But you know, like the Shogun, you might not get the pretty box, but if you don't care about the box, and you just care about the figure, you can't go wrong there. Well, there you guys go. That is my review of the Super 7 San Diego Comic-Con Aurora-based Godzilla reaction figure. I love this thing. I know it's not for everyone, but if you are a fan of old school Godzilla stuff, this is right up your alley. So, remember, if you like what you see, we do have a show. It's called the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast. You can find us at thekaijukingdompodcast.com. And if you don't like to download, you can always stream us on all of your favorite podcast streamers, including Apple, Spotify, or wherever else you might find better podcasts. We're also on social media. Just going to put it right there for you to read. If you ever want to get a hold of us, talk to us, or anything like that, this is the best way to go about it. And on that note, that will do it for this edition of the Koffers. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.